The modern world does not steal your time by force. It captures it through design. Attention has become the most valuable currency on Earth because whatever controls attention eventually controls behavior, identity, and belief. Most people assume they are distracted because they lack discipline or motivation. The truth is more unsettling. Their minds are being trained, shaped, and optimized for capture. The attention economy is built on a simple principle. The longer something holds your focus, the more valuable you become to the system. Platforms are not neutral tools. They are engineered environments designed to keep the brain engaged, stimulated, and returning again and again. Over time, this repeated engagement quietly rewires how the mind processes information, reward, and meaning. Human attention evolved for survival. It was meant to notice threats, opportunities, and patterns in the environment. Today, that same system is flooded with endless novelty, alerts, headlines, videos, opinions, and emotional triggers. The brain is not failing. It is adapting to the conditions it is placed in, and adaptation always has consequences. Neuroscience shows that repeated exposure to fast-changing stimuli strengthens neural pathways associated with novelty seeking and weakens those responsible for sustained focus, reflection, and patience. This means the brain becomes excellent at scanning, switching, and reacting, but increasingly poor at staying with one thing long enough to understand it deeply. The cost is not just distraction, it is depth. Depth requires time, silence, and friction. The attention economy removes all three. When everything is optimized for speed, there is no space for integration. Thoughts remain shallow. Emotions remain unprocessed. Experiences remain fragmented. A person may consume vast amounts of information, yet feel strangely empty, confused, or mentally exhausted. This is not accidental. Design choices favor content that provokes outrage, fear, desire, or validation, because these states hold attention more reliably than calm, clarity, or truth. Over time, the nervous system becomes conditioned to seek intensity rather than meaning. Stimulation replaces satisfaction. The result is a subtle shift in how reality is experienced. Ordinary moments feel dull, work feels heavier, relationships feel less engaging, silence feels uncomfortable. The brain, trained on constant input, begins to resist stillness, because stillness offers no immediate reward. This is the first and most dangerous consequence of the attention economy. It changes what the mind finds tolerable, let alone meaningful. When attention is continuously pulled outward, the inner world weakens. Reflection becomes difficult. Self-awareness fades, and without awareness, choice disappears. A person who cannot direct their attention cannot direct their life. They may feel free, but their focus is constantly guided by external signals. Algorithms, trends, notifications, and social feedback loops begin shaping priorities without conscious consent. What feels like preference is often conditioning. This is why so many people feel mentally scattered despite being informed, why they feel busy yet directionless, why they feel stimulated yet unfulfilled. Their attention is constantly occupied but rarely invested. The attention economy does not just consume time, it reshapes the brain that experiences time. In doing so, it quietly determines what feels important, what feels boring, and what feels impossible to sustain. This is where the deeper problem begins.
The attention economy does not rely on logic. It relies on emotion. Emotion holds attention longer than information ever could. Fear, outrage, desire, validation, and belonging are the most effective tools for capture, because emotion bypasses rational filtering and goes straight to the nervous system. Algorithms are trained to detect what provokes reaction, not what provides truth. Every click, pause, comment, or share feeds the system more data about what activates you. Over time, content becomes increasingly tailored, not to inform you, but to stimulate you. This creates a feedback loop where emotional intensity is rewarded and calm, understanding is starved. The brain adapts to this environment quickly. Dopamine, the chemical associated with motivation and anticipation, is released, not when something is meaningful, but when something is unpredictable. This trains the mind to crave constant novelty. Short bursts of stimulation replace long arcs of effort. As this conditioning deepens, sustained attention begins to feel uncomfortable. Reading long texts feels tiring. Listening fully feels difficult. Working without interruption feels almost painful. The mind begins to associate effort with discomfort and distraction with relief. This is not a moral failure, it is conditioning. The brain always adapts to what it repeatedly experiences, but adaptation has a direction, and this direction favors reaction over reflection. Emotional manipulation also reshapes belief. When content repeatedly triggers fear or outrage, it narrows perception. The world begins to feel more hostile, divided and urgent than it actually is. Nuance disappears. Complexity collapses. Everything becomes simplified into enemies, allies, threats, and rewards. This constant emotional engagement exhausts the nervous system. People feel anxious without knowing why, irritable without cause, restless, even at rest. The mind rarely returns to baseline because it is always partially activated. Relationships suffer under this pressure. Attention is fragmented, presence weakens, conversations compete with devices. Moments lose depth because the mind is trained to anticipate the next stimulus. Even intimacy becomes diluted by distraction. The most dangerous effect is subtle. Emotional conditioning begins to feel like personality. Preferences, opinions, and reactions start to feel personal, even though they were shaped externally. When emotion is constantly guided, choice quietly erodes. This is how control operates in the attention economy, not through force, but through influence, not by commanding behavior, but by shaping what feels rewarding or threatening. A mind that reacts automatically is easy to steer. A mind that pauses is not. To reclaim attention, one must first understand this mechanism. Without awareness, resistance feels impossible. With awareness, space returns. And where space exists, choice becomes possible again. When attention is constantly fragmented, identity begins to weaken. Identity is not a fixed object. It is built slowly through memory, continuity, reflection, and repeated choice. All four are damaged by constant interruption. A mind that never stays still long enough cannot integrate experience. Moments are consumed and discarded without becoming understanding. This creates a strange inner emptiness. Life feels busy, yet unreal. Full yet hollow. People struggle to explain who they are because their inner narrative keeps resetting. Memory suffers first. Short bursts of information are processed but not stored. Without deep attention, memories fail to consolidate. Days blur together. Time feels fast because nothing anchors it. Meaning requires continuity, and continuity requires focus. The attention economy thrives on this fragmentation because a person without a stable inner narrative is easier to influence. Identity becomes flexible, reactive, and externally shaped. Opinions shift quickly. Emotional positions change with trends. What feels true today may be forgotten tomorrow. This creates a dependence on external cues. Likes, views, shares, and feedback replace inner standards. Validation becomes a substitute for self-trust. When attention is rewarded externally, identity begins to orient around performance rather than authenticity. Over time, people lose contact with intrinsic motivation. They no longer ask what matters to me. They ask what performs well. What gets noticed? What keeps me relevant? This is not vanity. It is adaptation to an environment that rewards visibility over depth. The loss of solitude worsens this effect. Without time alone, the self cannot stabilize. Silence once allowed integration, reflection, and recalibration. Now silence is avoided because it feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable. A mind unused to stillness interprets it as threat. This is why many people feel lost even when life appears fine. Their external lives may be functional, but their inner lives lack coherence. Identity requires space to form. Without space, it dissolves into fragments. Meaning also erodes. Meaning arises when effort is sustained towards something chosen. But when attention is constantly redirected, long-term goals feel distant and abstract. Immediate stimulation wins over distant purpose. Again and again. The attention economy does not remove freedom directly. It overwhelms it. 1,000 small pulls replace one clear direction. And in that noise, the sense of self becomes thin. reactive, and uncertain. To understand this is not to reject technology, but to recognize the cost of unmanaged attention. A fragmented mind cannot build a grounded identity, and without identity, direction collapses. The attention economy feels unavoidable, but its influence is not absolute. Attention can be trained, reclaimed, and strengthened, but only through deliberate resistance. A mind shaped by constant input cannot recover through more information. It recovers through subtraction. Reclaiming attention begins with recognizing that not all stimuli deserve access. Conscious limitation is not deprivation, it is protection. When inputs are reduced, the nervous system slowly returns to baseline. Silence becomes tolerable, then restorative. Focus returns gradually, not through force but through consistency. The first step is restoring uninterrupted time. Even short periods of single-task focus rebuild the capacity for depth. The mind relearns how to stay with one thing without searching for escape. Discomfort will appear, this is expected. It is the nervous system recalibrating. The second step is emotional regulation. Attention follows emotion. Wherever emotion spikes, attention locks. This means reclaiming attention requires learning to pause before reacting. Creating a small gap between stimulus and response weakens conditioning. Over time, reactions soften and choice returns. The third step is rebuilding meaning. Meaning cannot compete with constant stimulation. It requires patience, effort, and commitment. Choosing one or two long-term values and acting toward them consistently gives attention a direction. Direction stabilizes identity and restores purpose. Solitude becomes essential here. Not isolation, but intentional aloneness. Time without performance, without feedback, without consumption. This space allows experiences to integrate, thoughts to settle, and the inner narrative to reform. The attention economy trains people to live externally. Reclaiming attention restores an internal reference point. Decisions become guided by values rather than impulses. Presence deepens. Relationships regain texture. Work regains dignity. This process is gradual. There is no dramatic awakening. Only repeated small acts of attention discipline. But over time, the effects compound. The mind becomes calmer, clearer, and more resilient. The attention economy rewires the brain, but the brain remains plastic. It responds to what is practiced. Attention is a skill, and like all skills, it strengthens with use. To reclaim attention is to reclaim agency. In a world designed to distract, this is a quiet act of resistance, and resistance is the beginning of freedom.